All right, on the topic of the golden mean in music, uh, phi and how it's used in music. So we've been talking about the bridge in our music. The bridge happens to be a very special moment in the music. It's a break in the action. It's something different. It's something new, and it happens to fall in this very odd, kind of creepy, interesting ratio between the beginning and the end of the music. And I'm going to explain a little bit to you about this, and then you can do your own research to find out um, how interesting this actually is to you. But the golden mean is basically a mathematical equation turned into a visual. And it seems to reflect nature, in especially in the ways that we find things to be beautiful or aesthetically pleasing or proportioned or just successful. So the first example I'm going to give is about photography and sunsets. So if you're going to take a sunset picture, do you want the actual ball of sun to be in the middle? Do you want it to be near the top? Do you want it to be near the bottom? And in reality, none of those pictures was actually all that pleasing as a sunset photo. And I don't exactly know why, except for the fact that I understand the golden ratio. Now, this is a great picture of a sunset, and so is this, but there's just something a little bit better about this picture, because right where the ball of sun is, where she's making the heart shape with her hands, is exactly the correct ratio. Now, let me explain. So the Fibonacci sequence, I don't know if you can see the pattern there, but 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 84, etc., follows a very specific pattern. And when you put it in a box that's 1 by 1, 1 by 2, 2 by 3, 3 by 5, or in this case, 3 by 3, 5 by 5, 8 by 8, 13, make a square, 21, 34, 55, whether that's inches or centimeters or feet, it doesn't matter. The proportionality is the same. You get a gradually increasing size, and you get this ratio. One block to the next block is exactly 1.618, which is phi. A ratio, it's actually given a letter in mathematics and physics and science. And if you don't know the pattern, if you have been staring at that and wondering how does that pattern exist, well, hopefully I'm going to wait a second and pause and let you see if you can figure it out. How do they get from 1 to 1 and 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 and 3 to 5, 5 to 8? Like, what is the math there? If you haven't figured it out yet, it's 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, 5 and 8 make 13, and on and on. So this kind of interesting pattern also just turned into a spiral if you kind of graph it out like that. So this is the golden ratio. You can dig into the math a little bit more if you want, but that funny letter on the right there is phi. And that's the number, what it's behind it right there, 1.61803398874. It's kind of like pi, but a little bit different ratio, and it follows the Fibonacci numbers, which you can see there below. So in other words, we come up with this kind of spiral, and right at about, 1.61, what do they say? 1.618, let's say. That's about 1.6. In other words, about 2/3 of the way across the screen. 1.66 repeating would be a ratio of 1 to 2/3, if I'm getting my math right. Anyway, the point is that you can create this ratio anywhere. You can manufacture a little thing out of a coat hanger like this and measure it out and put a bead, 1.618 on one side and 1.0 on the other. And then you can go around and start to measure things and see what camera shots or TV shots are most pleasing. Like, what are most camera operators going to find the best look is. It's even applied to beauty and models, or what we think of as pretty, or as pleasing, or as aesthetically correct. And you can actually measure out. They make devices like this that can expand and contract, and you can measure out the different proportionalities of anything. If you love a certain coffee table and you wonder why, maybe it's time to look at the proportionality of it, or why a certain painting or a certain setup is the way, the certain way that you set up your workspace, or the way that you set up your bedroom. It's kind of this feng shui that we enjoy seeing things that are proportional. And it turns out almost every section of our body is actually proportional in that exact same ratio. Our finger sections are that exact ratio. If you look at your own fingers, the first section of your finger is related to the second section of your finger in that way. The same thing goes for your hand to your forearm, approximately. Now, not everybody's the same, but this A to B ratio is found throughout Da Vinci's drawings. And if you're an artist, you need to know about this, because not only do you need to be able to, get the right length to each section of what you're drawing, you're going to find it throughout nature. And so you're going to want to harness that kind of natural beauty. It can be found in weather patterns. It can be found in seashells. Each chamber of a seashell follows that exact ratio, 1.618 to 1. So each year's growth, at least if it's a correct growth or if it's a healthy animal. The solar system spirals in a certain way, in a certain pattern, and you can see this throughout galaxies, throughout artwork, throughout nature, and just a natural unveiling, a natural unspiraling, or a natural growth pattern from day to day. You can also see it in good design. Designers are very much aware of these different ratios. You can see the golden ratio developed on the right in green, and then as it's applied to the apple shape, as it's applied to photography, you may not have noticed right away by looking at this. Obviously, your eye begins with her face, her upper body, and then it gradually spirals out, and you notice more about what she's wearing, and perhaps that she's standing barefoot in the snow. Maybe you didn't even notice that. And finally, did you notice that there are stars in the sky? Probably not. It's probably one of the last things that you look at. So we kind of want to compose our photography in such a way that the focal point is right in that spiral. And you can see this happen in just the natural flow of things, natural flow of photography, the natural flow of the waves and artwork. Kind of your main topic is right there in the middle, but not quite the middle. And then if you look down and to the left, as you gradually go out the spiral, you'll notice there's a boat in there. And as you continue to spiral outward, you notice there's a couple boats in there. So our focal point, if you want to take better photography, be aware of that ratio, 1.618 to 1, or about 2/3. At least you'll get closer than if you're not paying attention to that. So when you look at great photography, great artwork, great placement of furniture in a room, great hairdos, great hairstyles, this is kind of just a goof, but you can see many different things appear that way. Now, there are some things that maybe aren't as kind, but if our faces don't follow that exact proportion, people can justify saying, well, you're not as pretty. But beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Obviously, we are all imperfect in our own ways. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your opinion, beauty can be measured this way. Here's an app that I don't know if it's still available, but it used to be available, and I do know that it was shut down, at least temporarily, right after it came out, because it was kind of just creepy. People didn't appreciate being rated based on their facial symmetry, horizontally and proportionally. So this person is measured as an 8.86. These are some more recent apps that have been developed that can literally facially scan your face and put the points of measurement in such a way that, can be measured and define how pretty you are, how good looking you are. When we goof around with these proportions, it can be quite hilarious. It just doesn't quite look right, and sometimes that can be goofy or silly. And so people who draw caricatures know exactly which parts of the face will look funniest if they, enhance them or enlarge them. So you get caricaturization like this. There's also the use of facial recognition software that is used throughout the world to take data, collect data on each of us and what we're up to and what our likes and dislikes are, what makes us smile, what makes us angry, what makes us sad. And this applies directly to music as well. So here are some classical music forms that use this proportionality. I'm not going to try to explain that chart, but you can break down from beginning to end what a song is made up of. And the sections turn out to be just about always that same distance through the song. So if you think about right where the bridge starts, that's the green piece there. We typically have an intro, A, B, and then a bridge, and then a chorus, and an outro. Now, if you follow this shape, generally speaking, that bridge comes right at about the peak of the song. The same thing happens in movies. This is where the tension is released, or there's some major conflict that's resolved, or there's some peaceful state that's turned into chaos. Something big happens right at about that ratio through the song. And that's why, as we work on our bridge, we want to make sure that they're a very special aspect of the song. So as we work on the bridge today, I want to make sure that you're focused on that bridge, that intro, and that outro as being kind of the frame around your song. It should feature some very special things. Take great care to make sure that they bring the song in the way that you want, give the song the introductory feeling that you want. And then when the bridge hits, it's like, something very special, a solo or a guitar, some special guitar work or a guest artist or a special rap or a special part of the story that comes in. And that's what the bridge is all about. And that's what this golden mean is all about. And there's actually a fun song here that you should check out if you're interested in this file. I'll just play the beginning of it. This is like math, nerdery, applied. Pi, golden ratio of 5. So I think it'd be interesting to really break down this song and figure out what's exactly going on here with that song. Anyway, they probably made the guitar parts a certain way. They probably have a bridge that's something really special. You'll have to check that out on your own. All right, so that's kind of it for the golden mean. Just as you make your bridge, kind of realize the aesthetic nature of what you're doing and dig in a little deeper if you want.